can't wear white," my sister snapped 2 weeks before her wedding, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You're not worthy." I remember standing there with a dress bag in my hands, my mouth slightly open, my heart pounding so loud I swear she could hear it. Everyone else in the room went quiet, like the air itself had been sucked out. I nodded. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just nodded, smiled thinly, and said, "Okay." But what I did next changed our family forever. So tell me honestly, before you hear the rest of this story, was I wrong for what I did? I should probably explain how we even got to that moment, because nothing about this happened overnight. Growing up, my sister, let's call her Aisha, was always the golden child. She was older than me by 3 years. Prettier according to everyone, louder, more confident, and somehow always right. If she broke something, it was an accident. If I broke something, it was because I was careless. If she got angry, it was justified. If I did, I was being dramatic. My parents never said it out loud, but I felt it in 1,000 small moments. The way they praised her report cards while barely glancing at mine. The way relatives compared us during family gatherings, always ending with, "Well, Aisha is just more mature." I learned early on to stay quiet, to keep the peace, to be the easy daughter. Despite all that, I loved my sister. Or at least I loved the idea of who I thought she was. When she got engaged, I was genuinely happy for her. She'd been with her fiancé Imran for 4 years, and the proposal was straight out of a movie. Family dinners were suddenly all about wedding plans. Colors, venues, guest lists, catering. I offered to help with everything. I went with her to dress fittings, listened to her complain about flower arrangements, held her hand when she got overwhelmed. I thought maybe this was our chance to finally be close, like sisters in those Instagram photos who laugh and cry together. The first crack appeared when we started talking about outfits. In our culture, weddings are huge, multi-day events. Everyone dresses up, especially close family. Traditionally, the bride wears white or off-white on one of the main days, and close sisters usually wear lighter colors too, though not exactly white. I'd been saving up for months to buy myself something elegant but modest. Nothing flashy. I showed Aisha a picture of a soft, ivory dress with silver embroidery and asked her opinion. She stared at her phone for a long moment, then said, "That's too white." I laughed it off, thinking she was joking, and said, "Relax, it's not bridal white." She didn't laugh back. She just said, "I don't want you wearing anything close to white at my wedding." That stung, but I swallowed it. "Okay," I said. "I'll look for something else." Over the next few days, every option I suggested was shot down. Pastels were too light. Blues were too attention-grabbing. Even pale pink was apparently disrespectful. Finally, I asked her directly, half joking but half serious, "Do you even want me there?" She rolled her eyes and said, "Don't be dramatic. Just wear something dark and simple. This is my day." Then came the comment that broke me. We were alone in her room, surrounded by wedding boxes and shopping bags. I was tired, emotionally and physically, and I asked her why she was being so harsh with me specifically. She sighed dramatically and said, "Look, I just think it's inappropriate for you to wear anything that symbolizes purity or importance." I frowned, confused, and that's when she said it. "You're not worthy." I didn't even know how to react. "Not worthy of what?" I asked quietly. She crossed her arms and said, "You know, you've made choices. You're not exactly the perfect example anymore." For context, a year earlier, I'd gone through a very public breakup. I'd lived with my ex for a short time, something my family barely tolerated. When it ended badly, rumors spread. People talked. And even though I'd picked up the pieces, moved on, and rebuilt my life, Aisha apparently saw it as a permanent stain on my character. Standing there in her room, hearing my own sister reduce me to my worst moment, I felt something inside me crack. But I didn't scream. I didn't defend myself. I just nodded. "Okay," I said again, because that's what I'd always done. Over the next 2 weeks, I played my role perfectly. I helped with last-minute arrangements. I smiled at relatives. I reassured my parents whenever they stressed about expenses. And all the while, a quiet plan was forming in my head. Not a dramatic movie-style revenge. Something calmer. Something that would speak for itself. Here's something important you need to know about our family. My parents had saved for years for Aisha's wedding. But there was one thing they hadn't planned on. Aisha had gone over budget, way over. The venue upgrade, the designer dress, the imported flowers, it all added up. Quietly, without telling anyone, I covered some of the extra costs. I'd been working 2 jobs, saving for my own future. But I transferred the money anyway, not because she asked, because I wanted to help. No one knew. Not my parents, not Aisha. It was just easier that way. As the wedding day approached, my emotions were all over the place. Part of me still hoped she'd apologize, that she'd realize how cruel she'd been and say something, anything, to make it right. But she didn't. On the morning of the main event, she barely looked at me. When I arrived, wearing a deep emerald green dress that I'd chosen specifically to fade into the background, she glanced at me once and said, "Good, at least you listened." That should have been the moment I broke. Instead, I felt strangely calm. The ceremony was beautiful. Music, lights, laughter. Everyone kept telling Aisha how stunning she looked. I stood off to the side, clapping and smiling when expected, feeling like a ghost at my own sister's wedding. During the reception, I overheard whispers. Why is the younger sister dressed so plainly? Did they have a fight? Each comment was a reminder of my place. About halfway through the night, I stepped outside to get some air. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from the wedding planner. My heart skipped. I knew exactly what it was about. The final payment, the one I'd promised to handle. And this is where I want you to pause for a second, because this was the moment everything could have gone one of two ways. I'd been insulted, humiliated, told I wasn't worthy by my own sister. But I also knew how much this day meant to her. So tell me, honestly, if you were me, standing there with that phone in your hand, what would you have done? Would you have swallowed it all one last time? Or would you have finally chosen yourself? Comment below what you think, because what I did next still divides my family to this day. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back a simple reply. I won't be able to make the payment. I put my phone on silent and walked back inside. At first, nothing happened. The music played. People danced. Aisha laughed with her friends, completely unaware. Then, about 20 minutes later, I noticed the wedding planner rushing around, her smile tight, whispering urgently to staff members. The energy in the room shifted. My mother was pulled aside. Then my father. Finally, Aisha herself. I watched from across the room as her face changed from confusion to disbelief to pure rage. She scanned the crowd, her eyes landing on me. She marched over, her dress swishing angrily, and hissed, "What did you do?" I met her gaze calmly. I stopped covering the extra costs. Her eyes widened. "You what? Are you insane? Do you have any idea what you've done?" I took a deep breath and said very quietly, "You told me I wasn't worthy, so I figured my money wasn't either." For a moment, she was speechless. Then she exploded. She accused me of trying to ruin her wedding, of being jealous, of being bitter and petty. My parents rushed over, demanding answers. And that's when everything came out. I told them about the payments I'd made, about the things Aisha had said to me, about how small and worthless I'd felt. The room went silent again, but this time it wasn't just awkward. It was heavy. My mother looked at Aisha like she was seeing her for the first time. My father rubbed his temples, clearly overwhelmed. Aisha started crying, saying she was stressed, that she didn't mean it, that I should have talked to her instead of embarrassing her like this. But I was done protecting her feelings at the expense of my own. The wedding wasn't ruined, by the way. My parents stepped in and covered the remaining costs. The night continued. But something fundamental had changed. The illusion of the perfect family, the perfect bride, was cracked in the weeks after the wedding. The fallout was intense. Some relatives took Aisha's side, saying, I should have been the bigger person. Others quietly told me they were proud of me. Aisha and I didn't speak for months. When we finally did, it wasn't a tearful reconciliation. It was awkward, restrained, and honest in a way we'd never been before. She apologized, but it was clumsy and incomplete. I accepted it, not because it fixed everything, but because holding on to anger was exhausting. As for me, something shifted that night. For the first time, I realized that being worthy isn't something someone else gets to decide. It's not about past mistakes or family roles or staying quiet to keep the peace. It's about knowing your value and refusing to let anyone, even your own sister, take that away from you. So that's my story. I still wonder sometimes if I could have handled it differently, if I should have confronted her earlier, or spared my parents the drama. But then I remember how it felt to finally stand up for myself. And I know I don't regret it. If you were on my side, hit the like button. If you think I went too far, tell me why in the comments. I genuinely want to hear your perspective. Subscribe for more real, messy, unbelievable stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole situation below. I'll see you all in the next story.